started early and left late. And the LPR was able to provide us with this description of this vehicle. That vehicle was picked up by FLA, which led us to a car rental place in Massachusetts. Through that, the agents in their work as well were able to get us footage of this individual, as well as a copy of the agreement which provided his real name. The video of that subject matched the description of that person of interest that this police department was desperate to put handcuffs on. That individual was identified as Claudio Neves Valentin, date of birth, and he was a 48-year-old man. He was a Brown student, he was a Portuguese national, and his last known address was in Miami, Florida. And I will tell you that he took his own life tonight. We have members of the Providence Police Department up at Salem, New Hampshire. And we also have the PCI unit, obviously the FBI and their evidence recovery unit is up there. So the process is being conducted as we speak. And it goes without saying that I would like to personally thank the efforts again of the Providence Police Department, the Rhode Island State Police, the Rhode Island Attorney General, the FBI, the ATF, HSI, the U.S. Marshals, IRS, DEA, Secret Service, and NCIS. There is no way that we could have done this by ourselves. In this nation, when horrific incidents like this happen, law enforcement steps up. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Colonel. General Rose.
Thank you, Mayor.
You know, I would describe the emotions on the investigative team, including our prosecutors and the agents and detectives, both state police, Providence, as mixed. You know, that there was a sense of completeness in terms of the investigation, an investigation that's, if not the hardest, among the handful of hardest investigations that I've ever been involved with. And the sense that we owed those 2 dead Brown students and the 9 injured Brown students and the students who were in that auditorium that weren't injured, and the Brown community and the Providence community results. And the teams worked really hard. I think I mentioned that to you almost every night that we met with you. I wish they were all up here with us. We wouldn't fit here, but it's just remarkable to see the cooperation between the FBI agents, the ETF agents, the HSI agents, the Providence police detectives, the state police detectives, our prosecutors. And I will say that everybody brought a certain expertise to the table, but it is nevertheless a sad moment when you think about those young people who were hurt, injured, or worse. 2 of them are now deceased. But to me, this was always going to be an investigation where something was going to break it open. We were going to pull threads. We were going to gather evidence that would lead us in a particular direction. And I will say that if we were with you less than, well, I guess now more than 24 hours ago, we had that picture of that second individual. And I would say within an hour, no more than 2, I think it was under an hour, that person came forward to 2 Providence police officers over on the east side and said he had information, that he was that person, and he had information that could help this case. And I remember last night watching his interview. He blew this case right open. He blew it open. And that's how these cases sometimes go. You can feel like you're not making a lot of progress. You can feel like you're chasing leads and they don't work out. But the team keeps going because you know, those of us with experience know that you're going to pull a lot of threads and it's not always the first one that's going to get you where you need to go. But when you do crack it, you crack it. And that person led us to the car, which led us to the name, which led us to the photographs of of that individual renting the car, which matched the clothing of our shooter here in Providence, that matched the satchel that we see here in Providence. He was found dead with a satchel, with 2 firearms, and evidence in the car that that matches exactly what we see at the scene here in Providence. And so I know that you and the public have questions about how we got from a place yesterday where all we could share with you was a photograph of someone we wanted to talk to where we got to tonight. And so we got a receipt, arrest warrant for murder today, signed by a district court judge for this individual. There won't be a prosecution now, of course. But that affidavit is on our website, and you will be able to see more and read more about how this investigation unfolded. I won't get you all the way there because there are some things that happened after which led us to this suspect's body in New Hampshire. But it will, I think, tell you, give you a sense of the work that went into this by the line prosecutors and the line agents and detectives from the agencies that work so well together. So, as I said, it's with mixed emotions. It is unimaginable the pain that the parents and families of the deceased are feeling tonight and will feel undoubtedly for quite a while. But I hope that by bringing this person to justice, that we can at least give them the beginnings of some measure of closure. I want to thank you all for your patience with me when I got a little testy with some of you. Those of you who know me from Rhode Island, you know that's my nature. So I really want to thank you for your patience.
As has been said several times, the partnership with the FBI was invaluable. And so it's a pleasure to introduce Special Agent in charge of FBI technology.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. My name is Ted Dox, Special Agent in charge of FBI Boston. We got shortly before 9 o'clock tonight, the FBI SWAT team executed 4 authorized search warrants for storage unit facility in New Hampshire, Grove, and St. Louis, New Hampshire. This is where we located Claudio Mavis Teresa, the individual who we believe is responsible for the Brown shooting. The latest developments in an intense 5-day manhunt is the result of an incredible amount of work dedicated by the law enforcement team standing here in tonight. Every single agency brought their unique skills and expertise to this investigation. We're motivated by the victims and survivors this is their incident. Even though the suspect was found dead tonight, our work is not done. There are many questions that need to be answered. There's a lot of evidence that needs to be processed, and most importantly, the victims and their families deserve special care and consideration. The FBI and our partners across Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and New Hampshire will continue to search for answers for the victims, survivors, and their families. To see what motivated this individual to carry out such a senseless act of violence. From the onset of this critical incident, it's been all hands on deck. The FBI deployed approximately 500 special agents, analysts, task force officers, and support personnel to assist our partners in this investigation. In addition to this extra manpower, all our specialty teams were activated, including evidence response team, SWAT, divert, and victim services response team, just to name a few. Special thanks to you, the media, as well as to the community. My sincere thanks to Colonel Perez, Colonel Weaver, AG Nerona, Brown University PD, and all of our partners. This was truly a team effort. Thank you.
Thank you. Another critical partner at every step along the way was the ATF. I'd like to introduce Special Agent in charge of the ATF, Tom Greco.
Good evening, my name is Tom Greco, the Special Agent in charge of ATF Boston. From the moment 911 reports of the shooting at Brown University came through, to there's been an around-the-clock effort to identify the perpetrator and protect the community. The men and women of ATF, including our special agents, our intelligence research specialists, and our support personnel, have been proud to support and be part of that effort, leveraging our unique experience, dedicated investigators, canine handlers, and crime gun intelligence technology such as NIBIN, the National Integrated Ballistics Information Network to compare ballistic evidence, and our other available tools to support the investigation and to help identify Claudio Neves Valente as the individual that we believe is responsible. ATF's mission, first and foremost, is to protect communities from violent crime. Each individual in this country deserves to live in peace and security in their homes, in their schools, in their places of worship, and in the streets. The actions of Claudio Neves Valente stole that right and terrorized the community. I'd like to emphasize to the public, this was a highly dangerous individual capable of extreme violence. And we're happy to have been part of this investigation and proud to have worked with our partners to identify him and see this through. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. From the very outset on Saturday, from our first press conference in the fire station to today, Rhode Island Governor Dan McKee has been by Providence's side every step of the way. The City of Providence is incredibly grateful for the governor's support, the state police, not just their assistance with the investigation, but in supporting the broader community. It's a pleasure to introduce Governor Dan McKee.
Thanks, Mayor. And clearly, your staff will feel the same way. We could see many times that we were happily able to assist. And as a former mayor, and feeling the revenue store and the mayor syndrome, I empathize and sympathize with you and the fact that you needed people to follow the lead of the Providence police and to partner in with some extraordinary people, whether it's the FBI, the ATF, and of course our state police as well. From the very beginning, my thoughts as a dad were with the families who suffered from the shooting. The unthinkable happened in our state. The unthinkable happened in Providence. The unthinkable happened at Brown University. And we're going to forever change. But our commitment from the state level is to continue to support Providence, Brown, and the people of the state of Rhode Island in the recovery. But that's going to take a great deal of time. But I do say this. Professionalism that I saw from the law enforcement should make everyone that lives in our state and beyond our borders feel very safe. These things happen, but it requires some professional help and law enforcement to bring it to the conclusion that we need to bring it to. So Colonel, thank you. Everybody involved. And again, we will stand with Providence and Brown University and the people of the state of Rhode Island to provide the help that will be needed in the recovery of the trauma like this.
Thank you, Governor. Throughout the year, the Rhode Island State Police is an incredible partner to Providence, but during this investigation, their support was invaluable. I introduce Colonel of the State Police, Colonel Weaver.
My name is Colonel Darnell Weaver, the Superintendent of the Rhode Island State Police. I want to begin by recognizing the excellent and exceptional efforts of the Providence Police Department and Colonel Oscar Perez. From the very first moments of this investigation, the Providence Police Department has worked collaboratively and relentlessly, day and night, on this investigation while protecting our capital city. Their detectives followed facts developed evidence, and pursued every credible lead. Colonel Perez's leadership has been steady and decisive, focused on identifying the person responsible for this tragedy. As always, our troopers stepped up, working shoulder to shoulder with the Providence Police and our local, state, and federal partners. I want to give particular recognition to our detectives, whose diligence and dedication contributed to this investigation. Our detectives and division leadership operated as a unified team, sharing intelligence, resources, and expertise. This has truly been an all-hands-on-deck investigation, as virtually every trooper has taken extra shifts to help support the efforts in Providence, and I have never been prouder to be a member of the Rhode Island State Police. This year marks the 100th anniversary of the Rhode Island State Police, and this case stands out among one of the most challenging in our state's history. The sheer volume of digital evidence, the complexity of the investigation, and the intense public interest laid an extraordinary demands on everyone involved. Despite that pressure, investigators remain disciplined, methodical, and focused on facts. We are grateful for the assistance of the public, particularly those who shared our information, provided tips, and gave us doorbell camera footage and access to their property. We are also thankful for the ongoing support of Rhode Islanders. We know that you have been with us through this entire investigation. I also want to be very clear about something else. Criminal investigations are grounded in evidence, not speculation or online commentary. The endless barrage of misinformation, disinformation, rumors, leaks, and clickbait were not helpful in this investigation. Distractions and unfounded criticisms do not support this work. They complicate it and threaten to undermine the justice we seek for the victims and the grieving families. Despite these challenges, good police work prevailed, and we have lessons that we can bring forward from these long days ahead. To the Brown University community and the people of Rhode Island, be assured that this case reflects the law enforcement community and what we are capable of, and that we are committed to the state. We will continue to support the victims and the broader community as the healing continues. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Providence is so proud to be home to Brown University. And we are committed to working together with them in the future as they help heal their community as we do our broader Providence community. We continue to give condolences to the deceased and our prayers to those who are recovering. Leader of Brown has been a great partner through this whole process. I'd like to introduce President Christina Paxson from Brown University.
Thank you. Nothing can really fully bring closure to lives that have been shattered over the past week, but this may allow our community to move forward and begin a path of repair and recovery and healing. I want to thank the dedicated law enforcement agencies that have worked so tirelessly on this case, really around the clock, as well as our neighbors and others who participated in giving tips and helping with the investigation. We hope that this outcome tonight brings an increased sense of safety for our community around and in the surrounding area. This has been a period of great fear and anxiety for many people, and now perhaps some form of relief. Truly, this week has been devastating for our community in a number of ways, including the experiences that members of our community have had with being targeted by online rumors and accusations. And I hope that this development also means an end to this truly troubling activity. So we remain focused on the safety and security of our community and in support for the Now, we know the public and our own ground community members will want to know more about the individual now identified by law enforcement as a suspect in last weekend's shooting. And we can confirm the following to the best of our knowledge, based on our review in the very short time since law enforcement authorities made us aware of this development. And we provided this information to law enforcement as they build their case and wrap up the investigation. So Claudia Manuel Neighbors was enrolled at Brown from the fall of 2000 to the spring of 2001. He was admitted to Brown's graduate school to study in the Masters of Science PhD program in physics, beginning on September 1st, 2000. And he took a leave of absence effective April 2001 before formally withdrawing effective July 31st, 2003. During his time at Brown, Nueves Valente was enrolled only in physics classes. The majority of physics classes at Brown have always been held within the Barris and Poly classrooms and labs. Now, detailed records indicating where specific courses were held don't extend back to 2001. But we can say that physics classes typically require access to specialized equipment, including demonstration parts that are a fixed asset in some of Barris and Poly classrooms. So I think it's safe to assume that this man, when he was a student, spent a great deal of time in that building for classes and other activities as a PhD student in physics. He has no current active affiliation with the university or campus presence. So again, we thank law enforcement and so many others for their extensive work on this case, day and night, and we look forward to a sense of restored safety for Brown, Providence, and the
Thank you, President Paxton. The last speaker, and then we will take your questions, is the Chief of the Brown Police Department, Chief Chapman. Remember, his officers were the first to respond on Saturday. And we are so grateful for both their immediate and heroic response and their partnership over the last 5 days.
I want to express my ongoing prayers and care and concern for our entire community. I certainly also want to acknowledge and thank the men and women of the Brown University Police and Public Safety for their efforts. As you see, this was a Herculean task and required a lot of collaboration and support from our officers and our public safety personnel were shoulder to shoulder with these assets. I do want to also thank all of you who have helped citizens and law enforcement in partnership and collaboration means the world for us, and we couldn't have gotten it without you.
Thank you, Chief. We'll now open up questions.
Yeah. What led authorities to link the incidents between Brown University and MIT? And I have a follow-up to that.
Yes, I'll start. I'll just tell you that a lot of the information and evidence we ended up gathering links us to a connection up in Massachusetts, obviously at the MIT, but I feel out of respect to the authorities in Mass as well as the FBI that's still in comment, that I'll tell you that the groundwork that started in the city of Providence by our detectives, the detective division under the command of Major LaPagan, as well as the federal partners that we had in our room upstairs, and ATF, the FBI, led us to that connection, and so that was great work.
Does FBI, well, does FBI want to weigh in on that? And then I have a follow-up.
I think through that particular link that you're talking about, that case is being worked on in Massachusetts, and we should be I think that they are having a press conference today as well, where they'll reveal more to the public at that time. I'd be remiss to start and kind of talk on this, let them contact first, to kind of be able to tell the public about those specifics.
In your follow-up.
And yeah, then as for the second person who came forward, what did that person tell you, and did that person know the shooter?
So yeah, obviously, I had mentioned at the last press conference that he was the person that we wanted to speak with. The word of the video collections that we had led us to identify that there was a person that actually encountered these individuals. So it corroborated everything that we saw. We saw a person of interest, we saw that there was a vehicle involved, and this person came in, broke the case in the sense that explained to us exactly what we thought we had seen, and put that individual at the crime scene. Obviously, that was the break, because we knew that we were in the right direction to ensure that we were going after this individual.
Colonel?
Steve?
Thank you, Mayor. Did Mr. Valenti act alone, and is there an anti-Semitism component behind this, do you expect?
As far as we know, Steve, we actually,
And is there an anti-Semitism component to this?
no, that we know.
Colonel, what was the events that led to the storage facility? So was he pursued there? Did he know authorities were going after him? When was he last alive? Like, how did that play out?
So it plays out in the sense that we actually, as we stated, we collected all the evidence. We were able to learn that it was a rental vehicle. We learned about that vehicle. There was financial records that were verified by the FBI and other agencies. I'm sorry, actually, another agency, so multiple agencies that verified financial records that brought us to that site. To know that he had actually rented a site at the storage unit, and then we ended up.
In a follow-up, when he did that, did he know authorities were coming, or did he just go and, like, how long had he been in that storage unit?
We're not aware of the dump in the sense that we knew that we were on a main con, and that's where he led us to.
Amanda?
Oh, thanks. Chief, I have some questions for you about cardio. So he graduated, well, he did graduate. He was at Brown more than 20 years ago. His last known address was in Miami, but now he's here at Brown University, potentially also at MIT. What do you know about what brought him up here?
There's going to be unknown answers that we have no answer as far as that. Obviously, came up here and committed this horrific incident and this tragedy, and that's all we knew. Our mission was to ensure that we could find them and bring them to justice, but yeah.
No motive at this point.
At this point.
And my follow-up is, of the evidence that you've collected, have you collected the handgun that you believe was used in the shooting? Have you collected any type of manifesto or evidence that he planned more shootings?
So as far as I know, that the FBI evidence recovery team is up in Salem, New Hampshire, and they're collecting whatever evidence is up here. That's now before we came up here.
Bill?
Any criminal history, political affiliations, any social media posts, anything of that sort that you can report to us about Mr. Valenti?
Nothing that I know of.
Chief,
Go ahead.
Is there any indication that Mr. Valenti was planning any future attacks?
Nothing that we know of.
Can you
In the way back.
Special Agent Docs, can you also tell us if the connection, I know you said you can't talk too much about the MIT, but the fact that it was a physics professor out of MIT and in the physics building and he was studying physics, have you tied all that up, and does that lead, why target one person in Massachusetts and then a whole class here in Providence?
Yes, it is true that Mr. Valenti was a physics student. Also, we know that the MIT within there was in that discipline as well. I will tell you that there's multiple phases to an investigation. So now, in the sense that we know the subject is deceased, now that investigation continues to find out all of those answers to your questions.
Did you go to school with a professor? Did you go to school with a professor who was killed? Can Brown answer that?
It is believed that in Lisbon, that those two individuals attended the same university course.
And for the Colonel, to follow up en español, si nos pudiera decir también unas palabras, ya sea ahorita o cuando termine las preguntas en inglés. Gracias.
Sorry, empiezo desde el principio.
Lo que nos pueda resumir acerca del caso, qué fue lo que conllevó a que ustedes pudieran dar con el paradero del sospechoso y las conexiones que tuvieron, cómo llegaron a rastrearlo y más que nada a qué atribuye todo esto.
The first thing was if I just can briefly explain how we got to this individual and what occurred. So, realmente lo que pasó, obviamente, el incidente del sábado 13 nos llevó a tomar evidencias, colectar evidencias de videos, de informaciones, y expliqué que es muy importante el trabajo de los policías y los detectives en el piso, haciendo el trabajo duro, recolectando videos, recolectando investigación, obviamente de los videos que colectamos, nos dimos cuenta que había un vehículo de interés, una persona de interés desde el principio. Eso nos llevó a después informarnos de la placa del carro, la descripción del carro, y eso nos llevó a darnos cuenta de que esa persona había rentado el vehículo en una compañía en Massachusetts. Después de que fue a Massachusetts, cogimos videos de la persona. Esa persona era en la misma descripción de la persona de interés de nosotros acá en la ciudad de Providence. Y ahí pasamos con los agentes federales a investigar un poco más y llegamos a los récords financieros que nos llevó a Salem, a New Hampshire, pues en esta noche. Allá hubo una entrada táctica del equipo del FBI y encontramos que esta persona se había quitado la vida en un minuto. Ahora estamos investigando temas más y hay otros algo que necesitamos saber más de él.
Colonel or AG, is there a note or manifesto of some kind, and is that providing any information about a motive or anything that they might have done leading up to the shooting?
The FBI recovery team and forensics are up in Salem, New Hampshire. At this point, we don't have any more.
Any indication of why now? What's the significance behind why this happened on Saturday?
That we don't know.
There's a lot of unknowns with respect to motive. I mean, I think that the real issue here is, the key was to identify this person, as we talked about yesterday. I think there are other answers that are coming, but once we're able to identify him, thanks to that individual who came forward, who led us to a plate, which led us to a rental car, which led us to he rented that car in his own name, that really broke the case over. But in terms of why Brown, I think that is a mystery. I think there may be something going on in Massachusetts that I'm not fully familiar with, because we're working this angle, but I think the Massachusetts.
Why now, not why Brown?
Yeah, I don't think we have any idea why now, or why Brown, why these students, why this classroom. That is really unknown to us. And it may become clear. I hope that it does, but it hasn't as of right now.
Yeah, this is for the Colonel or the Attorney General. At 2:16, there was a surveillance video that showed the second person that apparently blew this case wide open, and also Mr. Valente. You see them disappear behind bushes. Was this second person following the shooter? Did he recognize him and confront him? What was that interaction like? And I have a follow-up for you.
That's a great question, and as we all explained in the affidavit that the general stated, I'll give you a brief sort of explanation about that. The person that we wanted to speak with had an interaction with this individual earlier in the day, and observed him later at that time, what you just stated, and decided that he was going to encounter him and asked him why he was inside Brown. At that point, the person, the subject of interest, Neves actually ran. He was caught up by our person that we wanted to speak with. There was sort of a conversation between the two of them, and Neves asked him, why are you harassing me? And at that point, the person that brought the case walked away. And that information was critical to us, because he was able to corroborate what our detectives were seeing on video, and he was able to provide a great explanation.
And my follow-up question is, why did it take a citizen to notice a suspicious person right next to Brown University and not the police? And also, how long was the vehicle parked where it was? And was it days, hours, minutes? What were we talking
It
about?
appeared to be days as far as the evidence, and why would a civilian observe that to be suspicious? It's a great point. And I like the fact that you're mentioning that and bringing that up. That's what we should all be doing, right? And it's his personality. Some people are more interested in finding out what others are doing. In this particular case, this person decided that he wanted to, and I'm glad he did.
Shouldn't the police be interested in that, not citizens? That's what I'm saying.
Now that the suspect, Attorney General, now that the suspect won't be prosecuted, can you explain what he yelled in the classroom to America tonight so people can feel a little more comfortable? Or was it something, terrorist related? Was it something specific to the kids in that class? What did he say? Can you now tell us?
Yeah, well, back to that question just for a minute, just to clarify that. They had an interaction in the bathroom in Barracks Commons. So, I don't know, the Providence Police obviously not gonna patrol Barracks and Holland. That's a question for, frankly, for Brown and their police department. So they had an interaction there, and then our citizen, followed him out, because to him, as he explained to us, this guy did not belong there.
And so that's why I'm calling out. In terms of what was said, I don't know any more today than what I told you yesterday, or the day before. There are some witnesses said he said nothing. There are some that say he made a barking noise. Don't ask me, I don't know why. And that's it. There is no other spoken word beyond that we are aware of, as we stand before you tonight. And we have spoken to everybody that we have been able to locate who's been inside that building.
And just for the special agent in charge, my follow-up question is, can you just be clear to the people of Massachusetts, and I know you said the people in Norfolk County and investigators in Mass, but you did say a few days ago that you talked to the colonel of the state police and said there was no connection between Brookline and what happened here in Rhode Island. But now you're saying there was a connection, so are you saying that he shot up Brown University, then 2 days later he was at his house in Brookline to shoot this MIT professor, and then he just drove up to Salem, New Hampshire for no reason? How did he get into a storage facility?
No, I think that's a great question. My actual statement was that we didn't see a connection at that time. But absolutely, I spoke to the colonel. Right now, that case is being presided over by U.S. Attorney William Fuller. They're having a press conference at 10 o'clock tonight, I believe. I think at that time, they would speak to that particular case. I would be getting a little bit ahead of my skis if I spoke to that case without consultation with Leopold and her team, as we've been in the trenches working this up to the next.
Because 2 days ago you didn't know they were connected, now you're saying they appear to be.
Yes, and that's how cases often go. I would say at that time, when that question was asked of me, there was no indication of a link at that time. As we've talked throughout this week, these breadcrumbs develop, and we'll see what she has to say to the attorney.
I just want to jump in here. Come over here, please. I just want to jump in here on that because it's a good question, it's an important one. So, just to put everyone mind at ease who's listening now, it wasn't just drive to some random storage area. We found records with the help of the FBI and others that was his storage area. So he rented a car in Boston. He drove it. We were able to find that car in New Hampshire. We were able to find evidence in the car, looking at it from the outside, that connected this individual to our crime scene here in Rhode Island. We were able to find visual evidence of him inside that storage facility, which, in my judgment, matches him to the Massachusetts. So you'll hear more, as the special agent said, but there is no question that was his storage unit, that he had a particular car, and we found that car because of this citizen coming forward and giving us the description of the car, and then our individual who came forward, we knew he was telling the truth because we could see it on the videotape. And so that was a series of things that broke this case, and that led us to Salem, where the suspect was coming in.
He was last believed to be living in Miami. Did he fly here at some point? How long was he in Providence for? And when did he obtain the gun?
He definitely, like I said, he'll be in application, but he did fly into Providence, I believe, earlier October, I believe. That's the right date. And what was the other person? I'm sorry.
And did he buy the guns here, or did he get the guns?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
You don't know the answer to that, sir, as we stand here right now.
Okay, you can't fly with them, so assuming he got them sometime after he arrived.
Well, that's possible. What we do know is that he was moving around New England in that October, November, December area. Remember, we just we know that there's a body in New Hampshire. We know that there are guns at the scene. It still remains to be examined, comparing those guns to the ballistics evidence we have in Rhode Island, and I imagine they'll do that in Massachusetts, but again, that's something that's an investigation. And then, of course, we want to make sure that we match the DNA. But we are 100% confident that this is our target, and that this case is close from a perspective of pursuing people involved.
Just to add, I think, especially the Dutch stated, I mean, we didn't know who he was. And so it's very difficult to know what a person did prior without any knowledge of who that person is.
Especially,
Yeah.
can I just ask special agent this question? It sounds like from everything everybody's saying that the person who came forward to speak to you is kind of the hero in this story in a lot of ways. We know that there's a $50,000 reward. Will he get the reward?
You know, I will say that, this particular, situation, that individual will likely, get absolutely some aspect of that award. We've had a lot of other tips, I will tell you as well, that have come in from the public. And so I don't deal typically with the distribution of those awards. But I mean, it would be logical to think that absolutely that individual would, be entitled to some of that.
Second row, red shirt. Yeah, you.
Thank you. Fox News Digital, do we know when or how the suspects left Providence?
We know he left Providence and committed a homicide in another state. And that, but we know, I'm sorry, how did we?
No, I'm sorry, do we know when he left Providence?
Yeah, when he left, that's why, as far as we know that he left, but we didn't, I believe his last activity was actually when we found out he was in another state in America.
Pat Ford, Coalition Radio. I'll throw this out to all of you, with particular regards to the Brown University president. A recurring theme for the last few days has been an outreach, ultimately successful, to the people of Rhode Island and the people of New England to track this individual down. While at the same time, you've got this sort of passive-aggressive criticism of individuals who are being actively asked to engage via social media, who are wildly spreading rumors, some of which could have possibly emanated anywhere than law enforcement. I do have a follow-up. So would anyone like to respond to that? I mean, it's kind of condescending to a lot of people. I know Governor Peter, you're confused, that's not uncommon. But you criticize.
We're moving on. Current. Over here.
So the person who came forward with the case-breaking tip, was that information originally posted online? Or was that person encouraged to come forward based on what people online had told them?
So there was a tip that was placed online, and I believe we were doing our due diligence to find out who that tipster was. And then we were able to identify the person we wanted to speak with, and then we learned that that person was actually the same person that put the tip on that up that I was speaking about.
That person was in the area? That person was in the area?
It was the same person that we brought into the police station to speak with.
The images that you showed at the beginning, where you can see Mr. Valente's face, where were those images taken from?
They were taken from the Parliament business place that we learned
So
about.
none of them were Brown?
No.
President Paxton, if you could, so the situation is described, that you had the suspected gunman and this other person had an encounter in the engineering building hours before the shooting. I had been told by an employee that there had been concerns raised at Brown previously about people getting in the building. Have you heard those, and was anything done to address those concerns about people getting into the building?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question. I think we're gonna have to look back and say, you know, we don't know how this person got in, we don't know when they came in. We do know that the building was unlocked that day for exams, and that's something we're going to.
Had you heard concerns from staff members in the past about security of the building?
Dan. President Paxton, Dan Gay from NBC 10. I want to go back to the question I asked you Saturday night when I first arrived on the scene. There were no cameras in this building. And law enforcement, some that are standing up behind you, have said if Brown had cameras in that part of the building, we would have gotten this guy. And it may have stopped this swirling action. Can you answer that question for me?
Well, I don't think we have said the locations and what cameras are Brown.
But there's no cameras in that building because why would they take it from a rental car agency?
We have 1,200 cameras at Brown.
But not in that building.
We have some in that building, it's a large complex. And I think what you would see is the video evidence in this case, from my perspective, and as a law enforcement agent, has been incredibly helpful. The moving of the person around the neighborhood, those video images, they help track this case. So I think video was important. And as the Attorney General explained in the recent press conference, this individual was not spending his time on the ground campus. Came into the building on the edge of the campus and left. He was in the neighborhoods. The investigation focused on the neighborhoods. The video was there, and that was really, really instrumental in the fact of the case.
And my second, this is your follow-up, and this is my follow-up, Madam President, please take the podium.
Yes, video played a big role in this case. The neighbor's video, the rental car video, but not the video from the building that he walked in freely both before when he got in a confrontation and when he came back in and decided to kill people. You didn't have cameras in that building, just say it, so we can get this over. And my next question, will you put cameras, will you put the cameras in the building? Will there be more cameras in that building?
You know, I think we need to look back or look at everything that was done, but I do not think the lack of cameras in that building, it had anything to do with what happened there. And we will.
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you.
Question for
Tom Quinn, WPRO. Colonel Perez, I'm hearing from sources that the person that identified the shooter happened to be a homeless person that either lived around or inside that Barrett and Holly building. Can you confirm more about this person for us? And then I have a follow-up for President Paxton.
I'll tell you there was a person that was pretty attentive about his surroundings. I'll tell you there was a person that was very cooperative and helpful to this investigation. And I'll tell you that he was a great individual that actually assisted us in getting us to this point where we're at.
Was he a Brown graduate?
He was, yes.
I'd have to say, it was incredibly articulate, and his testimony, had he given it, would not only have been credible, it would have been persuasive. He was as outstanding a witness as I've seen, and he deserves a lot of credit. You know, recognizing there's a gunman on the loose, that the gunman knows he had this interaction with him, and he didn't, once he knew that we were looking for his help, I mean, he came forward within an hour, and that person deserves a tremendous amount of credit. I don't know whether he's gonna get the reward or not, but if I had a vote, he would.
Tom, you got a follow-up? No, go ahead. Go ahead.
My question was really to top of the remind. In October, the Brown Daily Herald reported that you had a vote of confidence in your leadership, and students were concerned for their safety and the fact that you have prioritized desk jobs over having open field jobs and having more people patrolling the campus. Now, in light of this, do you accept any kind of responsibility for this? And now that we've given these prior warnings, are you going to reevaluate how the Brown police operate in the future now, so this doesn't happen again and these students can feel more safe on campus when they return?
So, as I stated earlier, I'm profoundly proud of the men and women of public safety and profoundly proud of our police department. We will continue with the heroic work that they've done, to continue to work side by side with our partner, and everything else that comes with that is a continual effort to do what's best for the safety and security of our campus.
But will you reassess how the people are allocated within your department?
Every single day, we work in every department of the state, whatever that entails and all of that.
In the back.
Yes, Kim, thank you. I was wondering, this is a question for the colonel. Can you talk about, you said that 2 weapons were found in Melissa's car. Is that one of those weapons, the gun that was used to shoot here at his route? Has that weapon been found?
That's all part of this routine investigation. This just, before we came downstairs, actually, as you all were watching, that was developed and after saying,
And can you say whether or not that the weapons were purchased?
Yeah, those firearms were found at the deceased body, not in a car. So he killed himself inside the storage unit, and the firearms were found at his, in the area of his thigh and in the area of his feet, not in a car. There was evidence that was observed from outside the car that matched our crime scene, meaning mask, clothing, satchel, which you can see on that video. And there was a main plate over a Florida plate. This guy was changing plates. One of the reasons it's so hard to find was he knew what he was doing. He was changing plates. And so, that's why the collective work of following and finding this car was made more difficult, because this guy was changing plates. So we got a main plate, and we got a Florida plate on the same car in New Hampshire.
Patrick, as he was a.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was just gonna add this. Tom Brown again from ATF, it's okay. As far as the ballistics evidence, I know that the last question concerned matching the guns found to the crime scene. As several people up here said, this investigation is ongoing, and in many ways, in some ways, just beginning. Those weapons that were found at the scene, we will be using our tools such as NIDE to compare the ballistic evidence to see if we have any matches. So we use those tools to rule things in and to rule them out as well. So we'll be following up on that throughout the remainder of the investigation.
Patrick.
Neves Valente was a Portuguese national. Under what status was he in the country, and how did he get into the country? Do we know at this point? I have a follow-up question.
So, as far as we know, he has a student visa. He came in with a student visa. We also have learned that he had applied to get a green card.
Do we know, sorry, I have a question for President Paxson. Does Brown have any?
If I could just be clear on that, he got that, the lawful permanent resident status in September 2017.
Thank you. I was going to ask, but then, and for President Paxson, has Brown had any communications from Neves Valente in the period after he left until now?
As far as I know, no. He has really gone off our radar. He will continue to cooperate with police as they continue the investigation to find anything we can find about him. But his last class that he took at Brown was in 2001.
Straight back.
This question is for the Colonel or the Attorney General. If you hadn't focused on the wrong conflict of interest on day one, do you think the professor in Massachusetts could be alive?
Well, from the beginning, I told you that this investigation is extremely complex and intense. And so we used every resource as soon as we responded to the call. I said that earlier, I'm proud of the men and women of this department. Yes, we did find somebody that we thought obviously was the person, but we continued on. We continued on investigating, we continued on canvassing the areas, we continued on the video. And that's why we ended up where we're at now.
I just want to continue to answer that question. And the answer to that is this, and I tried to convey it a couple of days ago. We broke ourselves out into teams. So while the Providence team and the state police team and the ATF team were working here in Providence to follow up leads, develop whatever video evidence we can, which eventually led to all the steps that you've seen, laid out in the affidavit, which is on our website, and it is multiple pages. You'll see the progression. So while the FBI were working Coventry, we were working here. Now you may ask, well, what was it about Coventry that made us, for those of us in law enforcement for a long time, why did we have to run that lead to ground? Here's why. The FBI confronted him. Initially, he was not cooperative. When they entered the room to secure it, there were guns in the room. One of them had a laser sight. The witnesses had told us there was a laser sight used in the course of the attack. Okay, we had to run that to ground. We couldn't just, not run that to ground. That was a very promising lead. But that's why you don't get over your skis about the word choice is important. So while he had to test those ballistics, test the DNA off those guns, and that DNA ruled this guy out. Okay, but he had to run that lead to ground. But while we're running that lead to ground over the course of Sunday, for the most part, if my memory's correct, we were working other leads, which eventually led us to a recreation by the great work of the team, including the marshals, by the way, they're up here. Movements, image of our cooperating witness. Witness comes in, and you've heard the rest. So, this is the way these investigations work. You don't chase one and stop. We have chased more than one lead over the course of the last 4 to 5 days. There was one lead that we followed, didn't work out. There was another lead that we followed, didn't work out. There was another lead that we followed, didn't work out. So that's at least in my mind 5 different leads that didn't. The one worked out, 4 didn't. But you're running them all down at the same time. So I can't offer any comfort in that regard. But I don't believe that we would have found this person any sooner, given the evidence that was available.
Way back.
Can you see why it took so long to get the picture shipped? It looks like you posted on Reddit on Monday, and then said on Reddit that he told the FBI, which was a loss in the FBI's system.
We received a tip about that post and immediately acted on it. And so that's exactly what occurred. know, just like the general state, we were making sure that whatever came in, we checked it for, we entire, to ensure that we were missing anything. And so when we got to that tip, obviously, it led us to that person that wanted to speak with, and I told you that.
Yes, and I just want to complete that too, because it's important. This person had to come forward, that's why we put the picture out. Once we put the picture out, he came forward. Right, but we didn't know who that person was. We knew about what was on Reddit, but we didn't know who that person was. That's why when we identified another person, we didn't know when that person came forward that he was the Reddit poster. He then told us he was, okay? So all of these things kind of happened in that sequence.
This Valente figure, this is a question for President Paxton. Do we know why he left school early in 2001? Did he have a history of mental illness that was expressed during that time or reported in that time?
We learned his name very, very recently. We haven't had a chance to really look at that, but we will, it has to be an investigation.
This is another question about a follow-up. This is another question about a student visa. He's here on a student visa now. What school is he affiliated with? He's here in Princeton, General.
Yeah, so he's not here on a student visa now. He was initially.
Okay.
And then he applied for and received lawful permanent resident status in September of 2017. Okay? Correct.
What was Mr. Valente's profession and how he chose his residence?
Again, as I said earlier, we just identified obviously that person and just developed pretty quickly. Well, that's all part of the investigation and stuff.
Can you talk about, is there any interaction between him and law enforcement before he died?
No, I don't know.
I have a follow-up to her, and that is, do you know any associates of his, family members, friends, roommates, and if there are any in the United States, did any of them come forward through the process of this investigation?
No, not at this time. He's involved extremely quickly. We've been at this for 6 days. And so here we are, and now I identified with the person who's about to make an apprehension, as I stated earlier, we can be online. So that's all part of the investigation that we're continuing upon.
Go ahead.
Okay, so for President Paxton, Chief Perez said he had no known criminal history that you know of. You were asked about possible mental illness while he was here. When he was at Brown, did he have any grievances, disputes with any problems, any disciplinary issues, any problems at all that were documented?
Not that we know at this point. I mean, again, these are very, very old records. You have to understand, we learned about this very recently. And I think going forward, as we want to learn more, we will cooperate with the investigations, giving the information we need.
Hi, Brittany, WCDD. This question is for Colonel Perez. You mentioned that Prado was the primary suspect, primary focus from the beginning. If that's the case, can you elaborate more on why there was someone else detained initially, and the lead that led you to that person to be detained initially, if Prado was the primary focus from the beginning?
Yeah, so.
And I have a follow-up.
So, great question. So, we have received a tip about that first person. We have received a tip about him wanting.
Hand out some photos of the defendant. I know there's some interest in that. We'll email them to the folks on the live feed as well as soon as I walk away. And so the speaker today will be U.S. Attorney Leah Foley for the District of Massachusetts. She will be joined on the podium by Massachusetts State Police Colonel Noble, Brookline, Massachusetts Police Chief Pastor, P-A-S-T-E-R, Acting United States Attorney Sarah Bloom for the District of Rhode Island, Acting U.S. Marshal Kevin Neal for the District of Massachusetts, Assistant U.S. Attorney Luke Goldwarm, and Assistant U.S. Attorney David Holcomb. Leah will be taking questions if you have any. And folks on the live stream, I know there are a lot of people. If you have a question, text Caroline and I, and we're happy to try to do what we can to get the question asked. I apologize for the heat in here. We're trying to fix that. All right, any questions before we try to? The last two names, Luke Goldwarm, Goldworm, and David Holcomb, Holcomb.
Will you be emailing the PDF?
We'll email the PDF, but it's going to take me a minute to get back down there. But again, if you're on the live stream and you need this photo, Caroline and I will try to get it to you like now. All right, so.
Thank you. You're welcome.
And you go, that would be great.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
That we released within hours of that person of interest that was walking on Waterman Avenue around the corner that was sent out with the indictment. That became our primary focus of the investigation. That person.
Thank you for the clarification, and if I may, my follow-up. I believe it said, the last address for, Lindsay was in Miami.
Correct.
Have law enforcement in Miami been notified, or are they searching this last address for any, potential evidence?
Winnie, absolutely. Yes, that address, I believe, was one that updated in 2001. So absolutely, the law enforcement agencies, both federal and local, were notified of that. They also met residents as well, also talked to the individuals that particular resident to see if they had any type of connection or association with,
Thank you.
You were there?
Question for Coronel Perez, I'm sorry. For Univision, Spanish, what's next? Do you have any needs on, the motives? Como acaba de preguntar la colega, ya registraron la vivienda en la Florida, ¿qué es lo que viene ahora? Si es que saben cuál fue su motivo para matar a la
Sí, vamos a seguir. So, the question was what next, right? What are we going to do next? And so la respuesta es que vamos a seguir obviamente trabajando con las organizaciones federales y también entre nosotros buscando esa inteligencia de quién es esa persona, qué motivo trajo aquí a la ciudad de Providence a cometer esta tragedia, este incidente. Pero eso va a tomar tiempo realmente, vamos a tener que averiguar más para ver qué fue el motivo que llevó a esta actividad.
¿Tienen alguna lista de qué podría haber sido? ¿Qué es lo que van a estar buscando ahora?
No, hasta el momento no, esto obviamente como acabo de explicar ahorita, lo identificamos hace poco.
Hey, Colonel, I just have a quick question.
There was a financial record that the federal agency followed through the investigation that led us to learn that this person had rented there, so storage unit. And so we responded immediately, and we found that the vehicle that we were looking for of interest was parked there.
Just one follow-up here.
Katie, go ahead.
Chief, can you speak a little bit more to that, again, identification of a vehicle of interest? The person who did that, and as you said, there was video captured. Could you walk us through that aspect of this? Was this the witness who provided to you the vehicle? Can you walk us through how that vehicle of interest entered the investigation, and then I have a follow-up?
Right, yeah, it was part of the tip that was posted actually, and then also the tipster had called, and had stated that this individual had a fob and was trying to enter a vehicle that was parked on Benevolent. And so because of that, we actually knew it was a vehicle, there was a description of the vehicle. When we brought him in, he collaborated further on that vehicle. We put it out to the plot, the description of it, and we learned that within that time period, there was only a certain amount of vehicles that came out with those descriptions fitting it. So our detectives obviously stayed on that and ended up finding this vehicle with Florida plates, and how we ended up with that specific vehicle. Then we had learned that the vehicle also potentially could have changed their plates. And as I stated earlier, we were able to find the vehicle on lot, actually get the actual plate, learned that it was a car rental, which brought us up to,
knew yesterday, last night, who this guy was and that he rented a car in Boston. So the question becomes, is he gonna return the car to Boston? We got information he might return it to Connecticut. He didn't return it at all. But when we thought he might be returning it to the information, to the locations, we wanted to try to take him without him knowing we were coming. As soon as his name gets out there, he is going to be even more in the wind. And so the question becomes, if you think you might know where he is, right? Eventually you find the storage unit, right? So you're following that up. But initially you think you might return the car to Boston on Atlantic Avenue, I believe, or in Connecticut, or perhaps aboard a flight somewhere. You're weighing, can I take this guy, because we know where he's gonna be, and not alert him that we're coming. And so I would say this afternoon, we were going back and forth on that. But as the FBI and ATF and our other partners, Providence Police, state police, developed evidence as to where he was, ultimately in New Hampshire, we decided.
Good evening. This evening at approximately 9 p.m., federal agents breached a storage locker in Salem, New Hampshire, in search of Claudio Neves Valente, a Portuguese national we believed shot and killed 2 Brown University students and an MIT professor in Brookline, Massachusetts. Federal agents found Neves Valente dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. The United States Attorney's Office in Boston, Rhode Island, Connecticut, and New Hampshire have been working throughout the day to establish probable cause to charge Neves Valente. Earlier today, the U.S. Attorney's Office in Massachusetts filed a criminal complaint under seal detailing the chain of events over the past 6 days, including information that led us to today's search of the storage locker in New Hampshire. This is what we learned during this multi-jurisdictional investigation. Neves Valente studied at Brown University in Providence, Rhode Island on an F1 visa around 2000 to 2021. He eventually obtained legal permanent resident status. Previously, he attended the same academic program as the MIT professor Nuno Loureiro in Portugal between 1995 and 2000. Although Neves Valente appeared to reside in Florida, between November 26 and November 30 of this year, he rented a hotel room in Boston. On December 1st, he rented a gray Nissan Sentra with Florida plates from a car rental agency in Boston. That same day, he drove to the vicinity of Brown University, where his car was observed intermittently between December 1st and December 12th. On December 13th, Neves Valente entered an auditorium on Brown University's campus during a study session and began shooting at students, killing Ella Cook and Mohammed Aziz Umarzokov and injuring 9 others. Between December 13th and December 14th, Neves Valente returned to Massachusetts. On December 15th, he murdered MIT professor Nuno Loureiro at Loureiro's home in Brookline, Massachusetts. At some point while he was in Massachusetts, he switched the plates on the Nissan Sentra to an unregistered plate out of Maine. Immediately following Professor Loureiro's murder, Neves Valente drove to a storage facility in Salem, New Hampshire, where he had rented a storage unit in November of this year. Since the December 13th shootings at Brown and the December 15th shooting in Brookline, state, local, and federal law enforcement officials have been working hand in hand around the clock to identify the shooter and prevent him from inflicting further harm. I have said this before and will continue to believe when law enforcement agencies work together, crimes are solved and the public is protected. The information we provided to you tonight would not be possible without the dedicated men and women of law enforcement in multiple districts throughout New England, including the FBI, ATF, HSI, the U.S. Marshal Service, Massachusetts State Police, Rhode Island State Police, Providence Police, Brookline Police, and the Brown University Police. In addition, prosecutors from the Rhode Island Attorney General's Office and the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office, and federal prosecutors from Rhode Island, New Hampshire, and Massachusetts all contributed to this result. I also want to thank Attorney General Pam Bondi for her support in coordinating the federal response.
Questions?
Can you tell us anything about his motive and the two sets of victims and how they might be related and how he might be related to them?
That is not information that we can share right now, but as soon as that information becomes available, we will share that with the public.
Are you able to say anything of what led you to link the two crimes, perhaps initially?
Yes, the question was how were we able to link him to the two crimes? So investigators identified the vehicle that he had rented in Boston and then drove to Rhode Island. And he was seen the vehicle was seen outside of Brown, and there was security footage that showed a person who resembled him. There was financial investigations that were going on in the background that linked him not only to that car, but also to the hotels that he had rented and the car that he had used to not only drive to Rhode Island, but then back to Boston. And then there was the security footage that captured him within a half mile of the professor's residence in Brookline. And there is a video footage of him entering an apartment building in the location of the professor's apartment. And then later that evening, he is seen about an hour later entering the storage unit wearing the same clothes that he had been seen wearing right after the murder.
So you have an extensive video canvas as part of this investigation that leaves you no doubt.
This is the evidence we have right now. We are coming to you tonight because the federal complaint was unsealed, and we wanted to provide you with the information and to assure the public that law enforcement collectively believe that we have the person, that we identified the person, and that person is dead, and that he was the person responsible not only for the Brown shootings, but for the Brookline shooting.
Can you speak to, before the self-inflicted gunshot, was there any interaction between law enforcement and Mother Valente, like any words exchanged or anything like that?
No, when investigators went into the storage facility tonight to execute the federal search warrant, he was dead.
Do you think he entered there this evening?
No.
He entered an hour after what happened in Brookline.
Yes.
Do you know how long that storage, did he rent that? Like how long?
Our understanding from the financial investigation is that he had rented a storage facility at the location in Salem, New Hampshire in November.
Can you confirm whether or not he used the same weapon in the Brown shooting as he did in the MIT shooting?
Ballistics investigation was ongoing and has not been completed at this time, so we're not going to comment on that.
Can you give us any sense of when you started to recognize perhaps that he was the same person? I know it was through the video, but when it sort of dawned on investigators that these two cases were related?
It was in the last 24 to 48 hours that my understanding, according to my understanding, is when the link began to be established. And that was mainly, he was using a phone that was obfuscating ability to track it. And he was using financial, not credit cards that were tied to his name. And so he was sophisticated in hiding his tracks.
According to the complaint that was unsealed, it says that Mrs. Valente and the MIT professor had attended the same academic program together in Portugal from 1995 to 2000. Do you know if they knew each other? Or
My understanding is that they did know each other.
Have they been in communication since that last date?
I don't have any information to provide you.
Would you call this targeted?
We're still investigating the motive in this case and trying to, because like I said, he was very careful in his communications, and we just don't have any information right now to answer that question. But when we get that information, we will share it.
Was there anything else in the storage locker?
the storage locker in which his body was found, my information is that no.
Was that satchel in the storage?
Yes.
locker? What was in it?
Can you repeat the question? I can't hear you online.
So the question was there anything else in the storage unit aside from the defendant's body? And the answer is he was found in there with his satchel. There was nothing else found in there that I am aware of, but they're still in the process of searching that facility right now.
Did he kill himself right away?
We don't have any information when he killed himself, but he was dead when investigators found his body.
Can you tell us anything about his life? Like, I think you said the last known address was in Florida. Like, what he was doing? Was he working? Was he in the field of physics, which he had studied? Any sort of biographical stuff you can tell us about him?
Because his identity was only become aware to us in the last 24 hours, I can't provide you with any of that information right now, but I'm sure once we have a full understanding of what he has been doing, where he has been, aside from the time when he entered into New England in November, we will provide that information.
Besides the MIT professor, did we know any of the victims at Brown University person?
We have no information that he knew any of the victims or anyone who was at that auditorium on the time, the night that he went in and killed.
Have you been able to find anything about when he did attend Brown, whether there were any issues, if he was there briefly, was he kicked out, you know?
That information hasn't been provided to us yet.
Given what you see on the video of the MIT professor's home, is there any doubt that he was the intended target of the killing?
The information that I know, and again, the investigations are going to continue to be able to provide you with all the answers that you are asking, is that there was no doubt that he was the intended target.
What was inside that satchel?
That is information that is still being, the investigators are still on the scene right now conducting that investigation, and we haven't received information as to what was in the satchel.
Was there any suicide note?
No information right now.
How about in terms of the charges themselves? I mean, there was the crime in Rhode Island and also the one here. How does that sort of get sorted out? How does it get charged, et cetera?
So there are state crimes, including the murders, and then there are the federal crimes, which is one that we brought tonight. The jurisdictions are working together, and we have been sharing information together and encouraging everyone to share information that could result in solving the crimes that were committed in their jurisdictions. And we will continue to do that if there are any doubts that are left with closing out those investigations. We will continue to share all the information so that we can share with you whatever motivations come to light as to why these heinous crimes were committed.
Are you confident, I guess maybe that's not the right word, but do you believe that he acted alone, or is there any evidence that anyone else was traveling with him when he came here?
We have no information that he was acting in concert with anyone else right now.
Anything interesting found in the car?
That search is still underway, but we will provide you again with more information as soon as we get it.
Anything more you can tell us about, you said he hid his own tracks. Can you talk about that a little bit, what he did?
So he was using an application on his phone, and there have been a couple things. The Google phone doesn't allow officers to ping the direct location and get real-time location information about the phone. There was also beliefs that he was using SIM cards that were possibly European SIM cards that are carried through a provider in the United States, but does not provide real-time information about tower connections.
In the car?
The vehicle, we have video of him renting the car at Enterprise here in Boston.
And the fake plate from Maine was just...
We haven't figured out now where he got that plate from. It was an unregistered plate in Maine. We have information that that plate was a very old plate that had been taken out of the registration status over a decade ago.
When his body was found, can you just describe what he was surrounded by? Can you just paint the pictures to what was in that unit?
What I can say is he rented one unit. His body was found in a unit that was not occupied, and there was nothing else in there. from what I have heard, but this is information that I was getting an hour or two ago from agents who were conducting the searches there. When we get further information, the information will be made public, including in the returns for the search warrant that we obtained this evening.
Was he living in it effectively since after the Brookline incident?
I have no information right now as to the unit that he had actually rented. The tactical teams were there to search, and they were obviously concerned that there could be booby traps or other types of security issues. And so when they noticed that that storage unit was still locked from the outside, it was clear that he couldn't be inside. And so they started searching the abandoned or the non-occupied units with the approval of the management, and that is when they found the body right next door.
I know that you haven't had much time. Does he have any sort of criminal record that you know of at this point in time?
We are not aware of any criminal record in the United States.
Do you have any information about his life in Florida? What he did, what he did?
My understanding, it was South Florida. I know that they know the address, but nothing has been made public about that yet, and I'm assuming that there will be searches.
Profession, anything, what he did down there?
I have no information.
And just to be clear, did he fly up from Florida for this, do you think? Did he travel from Florida?
Again, the motive, and we have information of his being in New England throughout 2025. But once we get the information about why he came up here, what drove him to be up here, we will share that with the public.
Any information on how long he had been a lawful permanent resident of the U.S.?
I don't have that information.
Well, I mean, the only two ties that you have or can talk about now is he went to Brown and he went to this graduate school with the professor in Portugal. I mean, those are the only two ties that you can talk about now in terms of the relation.
That is correct right now.
Did he graduate school or undergrad?
Whatever it was, I'm sure it's in the.
They were in school.
Can I ask you a question? Do you know if he was in contact with anybody either immediately before coming to New England or after he got here?
That is not information that we have to share right now.
Just one more?
Do you know, did he have any contact with anybody else, besides, the rental, the hotel, in his travels?
That is information that I don't have to share with you right now.
There's one question,
Yep, go ahead.
question. Is there, there's been some reports on social media by this, saying that a man who was homeless and was sort of living at Brown was the one who sort of saw him and thought he was suspicious and took his plate number and then was urged by other people on Reddit to make sure he reported. Is that true? You say there was a witness, but is his account true that he's the one that helped break this or gave a crucial tip? How would you describe that?
We did receive information from a witness who encountered him after the Brown shooting and gave information that was very helpful to the investigation and in identifying Neves Valente.
You gonna get the 50,000?
We'll let you know.
Did you say that?
The accounts that are on the record right now is what we can comment on, but we will provide, again, more information so that the public will have
Thank you, guys.
confidence in our investigations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Plate and a main plate on top of it.
General,
Right there, go ahead.
general,
That DNA evidence, where was that tested, and also the firearms examination, because we trouble with the state lab here, where were those